Alright everyone, welcome back to Math Easy. Let's learn how to find the square root using the long division method. Now the long division method is not as popular and is not taught everywhere, but let's try to learn this. Square root of 729, and we have to find the square root of this number. Now long division method does not mean that you are doing a division here, but the layout looks like a division layout. So let's write down the number in a division format, kind of. Okay, remember you are working on finding the square root. Now what is a square root? So if I ask you to find a square of a number, it means that you multiply the same number by itself and get an answer, right? The opposite of a square or a squared is a square root, and this is a sign for the square root. What does square root of 4 would mean here? The square root of 4 would mean what number should be multiplied by itself twice or 2 times to give you this number, which is 4. And we know that this number is 2. Why are we discussing this? In division, when you are dividing a number with, let's say, and you have in division, this number will be given to you that you are dividing 15 by 3. You will go ahead and choose 5 here, write 15 and be done. This is not what happens in square root, in the long division square root method. What does that mean? I need to choose a number here and work on my first digit. First digit first. What number do I need to choose? Whatever number I choose, I need to choose the same number and multiply those two. So then think about, can I choose 3 here? Think about it. What would be 3 squared? 3 squared would be 9, which would be a bigger number than 7, and you cannot subtract 9 from 7, right? So we will just stay with 2. So 2 and 2. 2 and 2, which is 4. Okay. So 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract and 3. Now, when you are working on the square root, finding the square root using a long division method, remember the numbers that you borrow after the first digit should be borrowed in a pair, which means you cannot choose one number and bring it down. You have to choose 2 numbers. Now, why can we use just one number? Just one number for the first digit? It is because when you look at the squares, you get 1 digit number as an answer until you reach 4 squared, which is 16. So we still have a possibility of single digit perfect squares, and that's why we are allowed to only work on single number for the first digit. Okay, after you are done with the first digit, you have to borrow 2 numbers at a time. Alright, now let's see what happens next. Let me erase this and let's see what's next. Now the next step is very important. Not only you have to borrow a number from the question like we just did, you also have to borrow the number that you chose. And how do you borrow that? You need to multiply that by 2. What is 2 times 2? 2 times 2 is, it's a very difficult question. I hope you can answer that. 2 times 2 is 4. And now we again need to choose a number here and a number, write the same number here. Okay, so we have to choose a number and write that number twice. Alright, so again, let's see what numbers can we choose. What happens if I choose a 2? 42 times 2 would be 84. 84 is way smaller than 329. So let's try to find out a different number. what would happen if I choose a 3? 43 times 3 is 129, still smaller than 329. So I'm going to apply a trick here, and the last digit here is 9. You can only get a units place as 9 if you either use 3, which we have already done, or if you use a 7. So I'm going to try with 47 times 7. And this does give me 329. So yes, we have our answer here. You can go ahead and calculate this. 27 times 27 should give you 729. So 47 times 7 is 329. Go ahead, write this down. And alright, let's practice another question. So now I have 18. And I can go ahead with 4 square, which is 16. So 4 and 4. So remember, you have to write the same numbers. 4 and 4 is 16. And let's get rid of this extra line. Subtract 16 from 18. It gives you 2. And remember, because this is a square root, you have to borrow 2 numbers at a time. What was the next step? Multiply 4 by 2 or double the number you have used here, which will become 8. Now again, I need to find a number and write it 2 times. So let's take a number. Again, let's try with 2. But remember, if I multiply 2 with 2, then in the units place I get a 4. So this may be my answer, but this is always a hint. What do I need? I need a 9. So I can try. Let's write 3 here. I can try by 3 or 7 if needed. 83. And this gives me 249, which we needed. So now I can say that 43 would be my answer. You can check your answer by multiplying 43 with itself twice, finding 43 squared, and see if you get 1849 or not. Let's try a question with decimal. So yeah, they kind of look scary, but we have to follow the same process. The only difference would be wherever your question starts from a decimal, you have to put a decimal there. So now I'm looking for 42. I know that 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. So I can start with 6. And this gives me 36. Subtract the numbers and it gives you 6 and 0. Remember, you have to borrow 2 numbers, but this case we have a decimal, so take that decimal and put it right away. Otherwise you might forget about it. Don't take the chance. Go ahead and put the decimal. Borrow 25, and remember, you have to double this number, so this will become 12. Now go ahead and choose a number and a same number. So I'm guessing since this ends with a 5, trying with a 5 would be a wiser choice. So 125 times 5 will give me 625. And I can say that 6.5 would be my answer. So 42.25 is square root of 42.25 would be 6.5. Okay, so I like a different way of doing this long division square root for decimals. I like this method much better. So I'm going to show you that too, other way. So what I do is I just take away the decimal. How do I take away the decimal? Since it has 2 decimal places, I can just write it as 4225 over 100, because if I divide something by 100, it gives me 2 decimal places. I can go ahead and find the long division method, use the long division method, and 4225 will give me 65 as an answer. And what is the number when you multiply it with itself twice gives you 100? Remember, it has 2 zeros, so that number would be 10. So square root of 100 is just 10. 65 over 10, since you are dividing something by 10, will become 6.5. And I like this way much better when I'm working with the decimals than the other way. But it depends upon you and how much practice do you have. And now here on this page, I have done a question, as you can see, where you have to add 2 different square roots of a number which have decimals in it.